Okay, so here we go with part 3 of our exam review covering triangle congruence. So let's get started. There are some postulates of triangle congruence that you need to be aware of that are going to work, and then there are some that do not work. Well, there's one in particular that doesn't work. Postulates that work, and the ones that we're going to be looking for are SSS, which stands for side, side, side. There's also side, angle, side, SAS. There's angle, side, angle, ASA, and angle, angle, side, AAS, which could also be the same as SAA, essentially two angles and a side not between them. So that's the same thing as angle, angle, side. One that doesn't work, one that we have to avoid, is side, side, angle. Two sides and then an angle off of those sides, but not between them. If the angle is between the two sides, that creates side angle side, which does work. But if it's not between the two sides, then we have side side angle, and that's one that does not work. So what I want to do is just practice real quick which one of these are side side side, side angle side, angle side angle, just so we have an understanding of how we can properly read them. So the first one, we have an angle, we have two sides, right? So what we see is an angle and two sides can only either be this one or this one. When we said that was a bad one, because everything else doesn't have two sides and one angle, right? This has two angles on one side, that has two angles on one side. This doesn't have any angles at all, right? So it's not going to be, this one can't be any of those. It's got two sides and an angle. So now the question is, which one is it? Is it side angle side or is it side side angle? Well, the sides are here, and I like to highlight them, right? So these are the sides. If it was side angle side, if it was this one, the angle would be between the two sides. Now the angle between the two sides would be over here, be this one. That's not the angle we're given. The angle we're given is over here, away from the two sides. Meaning that what we essentially have here is a side-side angle. Something to be aware of. So this is kind of just practicing reading them, right? So here we have two sides and we have one angle. And now you'll notice that the angle here is connecting the two sides. It's the angle that, that's a good way of putting it. It's the angle that connects the two sides, the angle between the two sides. Thus meaning that we have a side angle side, SAS, which is one that we do like, side angle side. This one has three sides. That one's pretty simple, pretty obvious. Side, side, side with no angles. Can only ever be one thing. It's got to be side, side, side. The fourth one, remember we've got two sides here, and then we have this angle. Now keep in mind that this angle is not the one between the two sides. The one that connects the two sides, the angle that connects them would be over here, this side, this corner. But the angle we're given is not that one, it's the one down here. So what we have is a side-side angle, not a side angle side. Looking at the fifth one, we've got two angles and the side. So it's going to be, with two angles and a side, it can only either be one of these two, because none of the other options have two angles and one side. So it's either angle side angle or it's angle angle side. The difference is, for angle side angle, the side is between the two angles, whereas angle angle side, the side is not between the two angles. So let's keep in mind what we see here. So we have the two angles and we have the side that connects the two angles together. So the side is between the two angles. So this is an angle side angle. Now this one, we have two angles again, and we have a side. So again, it's either going to be angle side angle or angle angle side. It can only be one of those two. So notice where the angles are, and notice where the side is. This side is not the one that's between the angles, because the side between the angles would be the one that connects the two angles together. But you can see the side that connects the two angles is this one. Here, I'll highlight it in blue. This side is the side that connects the two angles together, and that's not the side that's marked. The side that's marked is over here. So this side is not between the angles, it's off of them or away from them. So this must be an angle angle side. For the third, or I guess seventh, eighth, seventh one, okay. Again, we have two sides and we have an angle. So again, it could only be one of two things. It could be side angle, or it could be side angle side. So it's going to be one of those, just given the fact we have two sides and one angle. But let's highlight the sides. So we have these sides, and the angle that's given to us is the one in between the sides, right? The angle here is the one that connects the two sides together. And when you get that, that's good. That's a side angle side. The angle is between the two sides. The angle is connecting the two sides together. And then our last one, we have two angles and we have a side. So again, that's either going to be angle side angle or angle side. So there's the angles, and the side we have is the side that connects the two angles. The side that's connecting the two angles means that this is an angle side angle. The side connects the two angles. So angle side angle. Perfect. Okay, so now we try to identify, are the triangles congruent? If so, how? So congruent means exactly the same. So again, one of those postulates is going to be how we prove this. So one thing to keep in mind is anytime you have these triangles crisscross like this, one thing you want to add to the picture is the vertical angles here, because these vertical angles are congruent, so it's worth making a note of them, that they exist. Now, let's zoom in on just one of those triangles. We've got two triangles here, but let's zoom in on just one of them, okay? So just focus your attention on this one here, right? And let's try to identify the markings just like we did a second ago. So the markings of that triangle, we have a side, we have an angle, and an angle. So two angles and one side mean it could only be angle side angle or angle side, with two angles and one side. Two angles and one side. So it's one of those two. Now remember, the two angles that we have this angle, and the side we have is this. The side is not connecting the two angles, therefore this is going to be an angle side. But angle side is a good proof, so we can say that yes, these triangles are congruent, and we can say because of angle side. So let's look at the second one. So again, we have the vertical angles, we have the crisscrossing here, so I'm going to make a mark. So what we have is we have all three angles line up. We have three angles. If we zoom in on just one triangle and focus our attention on that, we have an angle, we have an angle, we have an angle. So we have three angles. But if we have angle is not one of the congruent postulates that we've mentioned, right? Only ones that work, the four that work that we mentioned earlier, are these. Oops. An angle is not one of those. Oh, okay, here we go. Just trying to get this back working. Angle is not one of those. So this is going to be a no. So if you want to add that to the list of ones that don't work, you can. Angle is not good enough to prove congruence. It does prove similarity, but similarity is not congruence, and similarity is what we're going to talk about in the next review number 4. So if we look at these two triangles, these ones are separate, so we just have to look at their markings. We see side matching, we see angle matching, and then we see side matching. So just focus on one of these triangles and identify the markings. You have two sides and one angle, and you'll notice the angle is the one that connects the two sides. Therefore, what we have, two sides and an angle connecting them, is a side angle side. So that one is a yes, because side angle side is one of the ones that work. So let's look at these two triangles here in the pink. So again, they're separate, but they have their markings. We have a side matching a side, angle matching an angle, and a side matching a side. And for both triangles, again, we have the angle that connects the two sides together. So two sides and the angle connecting them is again side angle side. So That's a good one. That works. We're going to say yes, side angle side. All right. Now notice that these two triangles in blue have a side in common, meaning let's add a little tick mark here to indicate that those two sides are indeed congruent. So now focus your attention on just one of the triangles. Let's just focus our attention on the top. Let's identify its markings. We have a side, and we have an angle. So we have two sides and an angle. Question is that angle connecting the two sides? The angle that's up here is not connecting the two sides. The two sides that we're given are those two. The angle that connects them would be over here in this corner, and that's not the angle we're given. We're given this one. So the angle is not between the sides. So what we have is a side angle triangle. And side angle is one that does not work. So we're going to say no on this one because side angle. And then one more. We again have the common side being shared. So let's put a little mark there to mark the fact that those sides are congruent. And again, focus your attention on just one of those triangles. Okay, so let's focus our attention here. Identify the markings. We have a side of that triangle, we have another side of that triangle, and we have an angle in that triangle. So again, two sides and an angle. Now the angle in question is over here. It's not the one that's between the sides. It's not the angle that's connecting the sides. So if it's not the angle between them, if it's not connecting them, then what we have is side angle. The angle is not between the sides. The angle is away from the sides. So again, side angle is one that doesn't work. So we're going to say nope, because again, side angle is one that doesn't work. So now we move on to the next side. Look at the figure below. Are triangles ABCDF congruent? So again, it's kind of the same question as what we saw before. We have these two triangles. We have a side matching a side, another side matching a side, and we have an angle matching an angle. So again, two sides and an angle. But notice again, the angle here in our triangle is not the one that's connecting the two sides. The angle that connects the two sides is over there. So again, if the angle's not connecting the two sides, then we don't have side angle side, we have side angle. So what we're going to say here is no, because side angle is not a congruent postulate. All right. In this figure, so it's telling us that these two triangles are congruent. Now, it does tell us that L is going to be corresponding with P. So angle L is going to correspond with angle P. It's telling us M is corresponding with Q. So M, which is this angle here, is corresponding with Q. I'm not saying it's a right angle, but it kind of looks like a right angle. But we'll say that those two go together. And then the N is corresponding with R. And we already know that because they already have their marks. So what is the length of QR? So QR corresponds with MN. So we have to look at MN to find this length. So MN is length 17. So QR must also be 17. So the length of QR is going to be 17. And we can identify that basically just based on the position in this order here. So QR is the second and third letter in the statement. And we know that QR is here. And it corresponds with MN, which is the second and third letter in the first one. MN is length 17, so QR must be length 17, same side. So there's other ways of finding the match, but that's just one of the ways you can find the match. Essentially what the question is which one of these sides corresponds with QR? And the correct answer would be MN. MN is the side that corresponds with QR, so it's 17. So now, what additional information is needed to prove the triangles are congruent by angle, side? So angle, side means a side here is not between the two angles. So if we look at these triangles, we have an angle and a side. And so the other angle that we need, because we already have one angle and one side, the other angle that we need is the question mark. We know which angle do we need. Do we need angle L? Do we need this one to match T? Or do we need K to match U? Which pair? Is it K and U? Or is it L and T? Well, if it was L and T, then the side here would be connecting the two angles, meaning you would have angle, side, angle. Now that's good, but that's not what the question wants. The question wants angle, angle, side, not angle, side, angle. So the pair that we would need is K and U, because if you have K and U, then you have the two angles, and then the side is not the one between the angles. The side is not connecting the angles. So that's what makes it an angle, angle, side. So the additional information that we would need to prove is to say that angle K is congruent to angle U. If we have those pairs, then we have an angle, angle, side triangle. It cannot be angle L and T. Angle L and T would be wrong, because if it was L and T, then those would be angle, side, angle. So something to just remember. And then look at the figure below. What additional information is needed to prove the triangle LFM is congruent to triangle KTR? So we have this information, and right here it's an angle, angle, side triangle, because you'll notice the side that we're given is not the side that connects the angles, right? Because the side that connects them would have been this one. So it's definitely an angle, angle, side triangle. And here we have that angle, but we don't have the other information. So what we're going to need is we're going to need this side, KT. So we're going to need KT to match LF, to be congruent to LF. And then the other thing we're going to need is the angle M to be congruent with angle R. So we're going to need angle M to be congruent with angle R. So this is the 2 bits of information that we need. Now we just have to pick the answer choice that describes it. So I believe that is answer choice D. All right, that's going to wrap it up for part 3 of our exam review. I'll leave you guys to it. We'll see you in the 4th part, the final part. Well, final of the 4, and then we'll have the one main review. But yeah, that covers it for now. I'll see you in part 4.